Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this resumptive broadcast here in the Issues Room. It's been a while, probably a little over a month, since we were suspended by Facebook due to what they term as violation of their community standards. Um, so we've been off the air, we've been off viewership. Our production was seized as a result of that. And this took place while I was in Liberia. And of course, being in Liberia, it presents some degree of difficulties to be connected to internet, electricity, and all of that. Um, but overall, this was not due to the fact that we couldn't broadcast. It was based on the fact that Facebook claimed that we violated their community standards by the promotion of a dangerous organization. Albeit, we sat around waiting for the opportunity to resume broadcast and to uh, be able to do this uh, issues room that we've put in time and effort over the last 2.5 years, almost 3 years now, come September. So I just wanted to let our folks know that we'll be resuming broadcast very shortly, if not Friday, probably next week, Tuesday. But again, we say thank you so much for your patience. We have a lot to unpack. The fact that I was in Liberia for a good while, I was able to be within the proximity of many of the things trending in the country, particularly the lack of rule of law that we've continued to emphasize. The way Liberia is a weird society, the way people think, the way they present themselves, the way they look at issues in the country, the way they're divided. There's no degree of unification on anything to move the country forward. Just the way things continue to run themselves, meaning the people just want to do what they want to do and not conform to, the law, not conform to what um, a country should be like in terms of its governance, not conform to just the norm of a regular society that operates within the community of nations. And so we will have the opportunity to discuss many of those things. But I just want to urge Facebook to understand that sometimes the comments made are not made from a insightful position of the poster. It may come from a cultural perspective, and sometimes the language used um, is not to defile the entire universe. It's not to create uh, any kind of degradation to the entire universe. It may just be particularized to that culture, to that community, to that small society. Again, the issue here is that many of the folks I believe in, and I may be wrong, who are the watchers of what's trending on Facebook may not understand the global culture and the particular culture of a society, of a group of people, the way they think, the way they act, the way they talk. And so when they come across as watchdogs and put everyone in the same basket based on the statement made, based on the comment made, and they generalize it to be something that someone is doing wrong at a disadvantage to their community standards. I think I found that very, very compelling for Facebook now to have verbal conversation rather than utilize just their power to shut down a platform without the due process, without discussing the matter and finding reasons why a platform may have done something that they did, that they consider to be outside of their community standards. And I'm saying this because sometimes when you look at why do we, suspend an individual or a platform, it just bothers me because then I come to realize that in as much you want to give freedom of speech, then to what degree you start to create censorship. And those censorships should be done within the confines of intelligence conversation so that the people who making that decision behind the scene can understand where that person or platform speaks, and what is it about, the context under which that conversation was held or that post was made. So it's just my plea to Facebook. uh, I think they need to do much more than utilizing just the texting and there's a limited degree, put it that way, limited degree of conversation that can be held in terms of clarification if you're just going to be going back and forth with an automated system through texting and what have you. um, Sometimes it's necessary for people to talk, especially when you're suspending and threatening to shut a page down, to shut a platform down totally. um, Most of what we talk about, stems from political uh, issues, and so what is politics in America may not be politics in Liberia, and so that's why it makes it compelling for Facebook to start to send the watchdogs to culture competence training so that they understand the depth of varying cultures globally, because this platform Facebook is a global platform, and so it's now important to extend the knowledge rather than think that it's an American thing because it started here by two young men from Harvard University. I think it's span out now, and interestingly, why I'm concerned, there are some serious things on Facebook for clarity being used, exposure, if we, in fact, sexual solicitation, people coming into people boxes and doing these kinds of things, and you don't see them taking action, but just a simple post and maybe a comment made define it as a violation of the community standards. So it almost comes across as is it cherry picking, or what is it about? So I thought to just talk about this, and that is the reason why we were suspended off the air. And sometimes you really don't know what the real true issue is, and only to see the message back to you, and you've tried to ponder it, and you can't find the actual foundation for the decision. But overall, thank goodness they've lifted the suspension and will resume broadcast in the coming days. As I said, if not this Friday, will be on next Tuesday, by all means, if God's willing. And so it's good to be back. And of course, we have a lot of things to unpack. I also want to say thanks to Moses. He's been doing his one man conversation, just continuing the enlightenment. Of course, Alfonso, who's been busy, will be joining us too. But again, so much to talk about, and we want to encourage you to follow us, share the link when we resume. There is a tendency for people to start to move into other directions. There are competing platforms here when it comes to Liberian politics. One man show platform, cell phone journalists. Uh, so many people want to be involved, want to be involved in the conversation of Liberia. So, yes, it's understandable that a lot of our folks will leave the platform because, of course, if we're not broadcasting, they got to find other outlets where to get the information. But overall, again, please let folks know that we'll be back here. And I just thought to use this day, which is one of our broadcast days, Tuesday, to remind you that of course we will be back, and hopefully back to stay, because uh, based on what we think and know now with Facebook, we'll be very, very meticulous, especially when it comes to posting and discussing and stuff like that. But again, we say thank you. Virgin Moyu, good to see you, my brother. Yes, we'll be back and back to stay. Gwen, G. Gwen Jones Smith, thank you. Yes, we're in Miami, Liberia. We're back. Flumba Livingstone, good to see you, my brother. Good to see you. And of course, let others know. We'll do some publicity here and there just to increase our audience. Again, River says Pro, good to see you. Good to see you. So much we got to talk about, my man. So much. But again, Liberia is thriving. Um, so far, has many things changed over the last 3 months? No, to be honest. It seems as though the canoe is still being paddled, but it's still in rough sea or rough waters, put it that way. Um, and it takes a lot to paddle that canoe, meaning Liberia, into calm waters. And this will create, I mean, rather will require, I meant to say, require the collective efforts of all Liberians here in the diaspora and on the grounds. And you and I know the influence we have here in the diaspora. Liberians in the diaspora have a great deal of influence, and we can use that influence in a positive way to leverage the support for the direction we want our country to go. I understand the political, dissension here and there, people being accused of being this party, that party, and our party is coming back and all of that. But at the end of the day, what good is a political party if you cannot impact development in Liberia, if you cannot sustain peace in Liberia, if you cannot sustain the rule of law in Liberia, if you cannot create growth and opportunity for your people? What good it is a political party? Have you thought about it? People form political parties just to come to power. And then when they get to power, they don't know what to do with power. And then if they lose in the elections, they disappear. And then a year to the next term of elections, they resurface. So that's the kind of things that been happening over the years of multi-party democracy in Liberia. And that is why the country for more than 40 plus years is still stagnant. We have not really defined the true essence of politics and political party and the democracy, the true meaning of democracy. We haven't understood it. And that's why we're still stuck in this quagmire. And people want to think that we can go this route, continue oppositionism, and think that we're going to foster forward. It's impossible. Our country can never go anywhere so long we have all the multiplicity of political parties that just overwhelm. And you know what's interesting? After being in Liberia for this while, everybody wants to do the same thing. Everybody wants to do the same thing. There's no ingenuity. There's no variations. Everyone wants to sell and everyone wants to open a drinking spot. That is why you have thousands of drinking spots across the country. Or the new thing now, everyone wants to open a school. Oh yeah, school got money. Oh, school got money. Like you hear people literally saying school got money. So you go into school, opening school because they got money, or you opening the school because it's going to impart knowledge and quality education to the people. Is that why you opening school? Oh, the churches got money. Oh yeah, the congregation, the churches got money. So you got all kind of messy pastors opening zinc shack churches, and before you can look, they got concrete building, they riding flashy cars, and they're living large. So that's the thing about Liberians. We always want to copycat. There's no ingeniousness to what we do. Same. Everyone wants to be a representative. Yes, because that's the place they're making the money. Everyone wants to be a senator. Everyone. Anyone who has the opportunity to run and win elections in the locale, in the communities, in the counties, in the district, in the township, will do that because it is the norm. Everybody wants to sell. Everybody wants to sell. That is why you have this overall congestions all around the country. People literally come on the asphalt to sell. We borrow boards everywhere. One other thing I can't stand about the pimping boys, they block every intersection, every junction. They sit in the middle of the road and just sit there and lounge around, waiting for a passenger to commute through, to the journey. But they don't park in decency. So when cars are coming, there's a choke there. So what happened now? Everybody wants to ride motorbike because they say it's the form of employment. So you have rather hundreds of thousands of youth just becoming motorbike riders. That's the problem with our country. Everyone wants to emulate. Everyone wants to do the same thing. Look at how many Facebook platforms are there now. Look at how many radio stations are there. And the radios can't even make a penny a day. They can't even pay the people. So they don't get qualified content out of the broadcast because some of the people are not trained, they're not educated, and so what? They just go there just to say they have a job. How many cell phone journalists all over Liberia? How many TVs on Facebook? Sapa TV, SK TV, John Brown TV, Volcano Shelton TV, River Pro TV, Joseph Barker TV, George Weah TV. What type of society is this? How is this country going to go anywhere? So there's a lot of things that we got to consider. And of course, the issues room, being very analytical and pragmatic, will come here to discuss these things. And so I want to say to all of you, our folks, let me tell you something. We are sorry that we had to be out, and especially being in Liberia when there were so many things happening in the country. But news is news, right? We can resurrect those news and discuss them because they remain existential. The issues on the grounds don't go away, they don't disappear. We relive it. That is why it's hard. The Liberian men don't learn. They don't learn. The Liberian men, we don't learn. So yes, those conversations will be held. I'm afraid more good to see you, my brother. Good to see you. Yes, I got very tan. I'm telling you, it's no joke. But I just thought that, to come here and just let you guys know, it was not because we didn't want to be on the air. It's just that we had this situation with Facebook suspending our going live, especially going live, posting and doing all those things. And so we had to bear that suspension and wait it out. And so we're back. And good thing I'm back in the States. And so our broadcast will hopefully not be interrupted by any means, whether electricity or technology, meaning internet or so forth. We're trying to line up some different kinds of show with varying topics so that we come back very strong, and hopefully we all can back into the conversation, especially you, our avid viewers, and those who are committed to this platform. Yes, yes, yes. We want to go forward, and hopefully this will be done in the coming days. Again, as I said, we might be officially resuming broadcast. We're trying to line a guest for this Friday. If not, then we'll start officially on Tuesday. But keep finger crossed. Continue to share our link, and let's hopefully get more followings so that we can do this together. These conversations must be held. Our country is still stuck, and it's not going to go anywhere until all of us look at the bigger picture, put aside our individualism, and come together as a nation and do the best for our country. Liberia needs the diaspora. I am telling you, folks, seriously, Liberia needs the diaspora. What you have on the grounds is just what they call try and error. A lot of us really need to be involved in our country. Otherwise, we'll remain in exile and will not impact the growth of that nation. A lot of you who are here in America and who are listening, by any means, to be frank with you, just being here, the experience you've garnered, the little job you do to sustain and be responsible citizens and responsible residents in America. Imagine that same attitude you take to Liberia, the progress that can be made. I'll give you an example why I say that the diaspora has a greater impact in changing Liberia. When I go to Liberia and I'm doing a project, and the workers there trying to, buy the water and drink, the plastic bag that they drink the water from, they just throw it all over the workplace. So when I come around and I say, hey guys, what is this? Why is this place so dirty like this? How can you work in this environment? Why are you mixing cement and plastic? Stay with it. And you mix the cement and lay the block, right? So let's do this. Take one empty cement bag, and as you drink your water, you put that in the cement bag. At the end of the day, we can take that one cement bag, because it's either paper bag or plastic. We'll order that plastic in there and burn it, and we discard our trash. Rather than throw it all over the place and everywhere you pass, they eat the bananas, they just drop it. So that's the context I'm coming from. And people rationalized it. They begin to do it, knowing that when they're working with me at any project I'm doing, they know that environment needs to be clean and they need to follow what I say. And they now begin to practice taking one of the empty cement bags and using it as a trash bag to put the dirt in. That's knowledge sharing. I give you a second example. Opposite the invisible sports park on the airfield, there is a new resort a young man putting out there called Ocean Drive, and he has some very low, nice soccer fields. So there was a soccer match that I played with uh, some of my friends, and it was a round robin tournament, three teams in the league, and Red Lion Pub was one of the teams, and I played for Red Lion Pub. So as we're playing the game, when we got done with the first half and we came out for a break, we were using the mineral water bottle uh, uh, produced by the current commerce minister Amin Modad water factory. So he packaged his water in cartoon, so it looks more like, it's not like in the plastic, but it's in cartoon. So when they opened the box, everybody's drinking water. They started throwing the bottle all around the pitch. And I turned to the guys. I said, "You can't do this. We're playing soccer here. You can't come and litter the area. Why don't you take the water bottle after drinking and put it back in the box? This can be taken empty after everything, all of the bottles back in 24 in the box. We can take that 24 back and it can be recycled." Nobody argue with me. Nobody said, "Oh, the man from America, the man from this." Everyone reasoned. And I tell you, as for the time we were there, everyone who drank took the water bottle, the empty water bottle, and put it in the cartoon, the empty cartoon. It's like a crate. You drink the beer, you walk back and put the empty bottle in the crate rather than throw the bottle all around. So I'm just giving this example that the education that we've garnered here in this country, imagine how much we can do in Liberia. Because our generation left the country. Those of us who were born in normal times, were educated in normal times, graduated from high school in normal times, the way we think, the way we act is completely different. I don't remember me in high school running behind politicians. I don't even remember that. I don't remember me using battle slogans and chants. So we've left that country and took away that normal time upbringing, that normal time citizenship, patriotism, the way we lived. You don't have neighbors anymore. Almost no more neighbors in Liberia. Everybody just encroaching and I mean, it's just crazy. So all of that goodies we took from our generation and we're fading out. We're absolutely fading out. And thank God that I have been able to go to Liberia since 2009. I've been making my returns for the most part almost every year. I'm able to understand what is trending and how to assimilate in the time that I'm there. But for any of you who have been out of Liberia for the last 20 years, if you go there, I'm telling you, within a week or two, you're ready to run out of there. You can't stand it. You can't take it, the Liberian man said. You can't take it. You can. But it's important for us to begin to take what we've grown up to know, to learn, and to develop into back to Liberia. That's the only way we can change a greater portion of our country. Because the generation that dead, the few that mean well, they're consumed. They're totally consumed by ignorance. They're totally consumed by arrogance. They're totally consumed by the lack of patriotism. They're consumed by negativity. They're consumed by politics. They're, they're praising and running after people who continue to take away from them and not give them any opportunity for growth. That's what they know. And only you and I can go back and start something little here and there to make an impact. I'm not telling you that Liberia is ready for you to live the life you live in America. No, I would be blatantly lying to you. Liberia is not ready for you. Liberia is not even ready for me, who've gone all of these years repeatedly. And many of you here can attest to it. Bureau says, Pro, you were there. Is Liberia ready for you? Amafrimo, have you gone back? Is Liberia ready for you? Flomo Livingston, you were recently there. You said you saw me on GS Road. Is Liberia today ready for you? No. Liberia is not ready for us. Just imagine our capital city. I posted something. The only capital city that I know of on earth that is in pitch black darkness at night. Monrovia, the first and oldest capital city on the continent of Africa, is in darkness at night. I drove around, the light comes sparingly, and the people celebrate it as if to say, manna has fallen from heaven. That's how horrible it is. We shouldn't talk about it. Yes, we should talk about it. We've been out of war since 2003. This is 21 years later. We're in 2024. 21 years later. And we can't get it right? Our capital city is in total darkness at night? All because people are moving to the Cinco Belt and the Congo Town and now to Pinsville and down to Robertsville Highway, so we abandon the capital city? Sometimes you're passing on Capitol Bypass. The whole government seat is in darkness. The National Police Headquarters, the Temple of Justice, Capitol Building, University of Liberia campus. Call and argue it. It is a fact. If even those places are not functioning at night, they must have electricity because it is the state capital. If you look at Broad Street today, Broad Street look like an apocalypse went through there. Old dingy buildings. Horrible, horrible sight to see. Benson Street, Carey Street, Center Street, all these places. Total darkness. So we have a long way to go, but the diaspora has a greater influence in Liberia. And I'm imploring you people to start to think about it. Because all we can do here is talk and talk and talk. But if we're not doing something there to impact the change, it's not going to happen. Now, of course, you're going to have some bottlenecks. You're going to have some fights. The people on the ground is going to think that you're going there to take their jobs. You're going to have people looking at you as who you are and who you think you are. But at the end of the day, your birth certificate says Liberia. Your citizenship in America says country of birth, Liberia. So nobody in Liberia can tell you not a Liberian. Because the very American passport that many folks are bearing, it doesn't say anything but nationality as American, but country of birth, Liberia. So don't let people scare you. Don't let people look at you differently. Don't let people say, oh, the people come here to take our job, or the people come here to act American. Oh, that American thing, don't bring it here. We'll bring the American thing there because the American thing was taken from here in 1821, 1822, and taken back to Liberia. And that is why we have the American nature in us. So yes, American nature exists in Liberia, and so we're not going to let go of it. You ask 2 million Liberians right now where you want to go, they will say America. So what makes it difficult for us to go back and be able to assimilate? Why should they look at us differently? They shouldn't be looking at us differently. We're not different. I can't even speak the series. The American accent, I don't even have it. I speak my little Liberian English. When I go there, they sing Liberian English. They sing, well, they say, but man, you it look like you leave the place, eh? Or you were hiding somewhere. Of course, yes. But we have a long way to go. And so if you want to just back in with me, let's have a quick conversation. You can call in. I'd like to hear your perspective. Of course, the number to call is 404-272-2808, 404-272-2808. I would really like to hear from you guys tonight. Again, as I said, of course, this is just a resumptive broadcast. It's not one of our regular broadcasts with a number. We were set to do our 229th broadcast when we were suspended from going live. So this is not our former broadcast, but I just wanted us to know that we'll be resuming broadcast either Friday or next week. Hopefully, if all goes well with my other colleagues. But I'm sure that you guys have an insatiable, salivating desire for the issues room to return. And I just wanted to share some of my perspective here. But call, I mean, the line is open. Call 404 272 2808, 404 272 2808. And let's hear from you. What you think about the diaspora influence. And when we say diaspora, we're not just talking America, we're talking Europe, Australia, of course, all over the world. And imagine if all of us can return and have a small piece to offer, we can then move Liberia. But here's the other thing I wanted to emphasize. Just from mine being in Liberia over the last nearly 2 months, I was able to say to myself, I think it's about time that we in the diaspora must put a political party together and go to Liberia and contest. Because all of the so-called people who continue to contest the presidency and acting like they're the best, they remain there, and once the table turn, they don't become, then of course, oh, they're done. Then they pack the bags and they come back. But if we can really organize ourselves and be able to go and contribute to the political process, I think it would make a difference. And now, of course, we've had some individuals who go on their own turf and try to do that. I'm not disputing that, but I'm talking about from our age group. Let me take this caller quick. Uh, the caller from Massachusetts.
Yes, Sheldon, this is Chuchu Alex Jones, and I was watching the broadcast.
Thank you. Welcome, my
Uh,
brother.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for the work you're doing. Your show, I've been following you for a very long time. You and Ashford, and you're very respectable people in the media. So keep up the good work. But I guess I just want to give my few comments about what you were saying concerning, the city of Monrovia, and I'm sure many other parts of Liberia. Um, I personally believe that leadership is important. Yes, the people can pitch in, and the people should not throw the trash everywhere. They have some responsibility. But at the end of the day, if the people don't have good city mayors and good city councils that can really educate them and lead by examples, for example, if you're a city mayor in Monrovia, you should be living in Monrovia. You can't be in Kingsville or Congo Town,
Hmm.
and you're sitting there in Monrovia. Uh, you should be visible. You should appear on shows like this. You should know the public. You should engage the public and find solutions. So I don't know what the last few years, we decades, we really haven't had that.
Hmm.
And while we will focus on the country and the national issues in the country, every country is a combination of cities and
Hmm.
towns. If the cities and towns are mismanaged and horrible and dirty, the whole country will be dysfunctional. But lastly, I would like to suggest that people should start looking at leaving the capital and moving to areas. And it's a very beautiful country. Places like Wyoming County, Cape Map, Maryland, some of the most beautiful parts of Liberia. And people should start developing those enclaves, you know, so that people can move there because one, the city is very crowded. Two, you don't have the infrastructure, the sanitary infrastructure, the sewage, the water, all those things. At least if we think about, even private investments and think about setting up these developments completely outside of Maserado or on the outskirts of Maserado, I think that would help. So I don't know what you think, but I'll
And,
just,
but and I agree with you. I agree with you that the what we call urban sprawl or moving the city outside is critical. But in the same token, don't abandon the capital city. If it's like Lagos and Abuja. Abuja was not the capital city of Nigeria all through its formative years, right? Lagos was
mhm.
the capital city, and at some point, Lagos became obsolete in terms of the political image that Nigeria had grown into. So they
Yeah,
decided to create a new capital called Abuja, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
Lagos becomes the industrial city. Here in America, we have industrial cities and we have capital cities.
yeah.
Harrisburg is the capital city of the state of Pennsylvania. Philadelphia is the industrial city. Pittsburgh is one of the industrial cities. You look at the Minnesota, you're talking about. You have St. Paul, the capital, and Minneapolis, the industrial city. So we can turn Monrovia into an industrial city and then begin to look at building a new capital where we can then set it up based on governance, set it up based on zoning so that it is able to be developed for 10 million, 50 million people in years to come. Because when Todman and the rest of those guys were building Monrovia, they were building Monrovia just for their convenience, right?
Mhm,
I'm hearing some
mhm.
noise in the background, people talking around here, I believe. But
Okay, let me. Yeah,
yeah,
go
but it
ahead.
was done because of their convenience, right? And today, Monrovia is a small city, very, very small city.
Right.
Very small city. I
Y-
wouldn't even be
Yeah.
able to say a city because if you look at how many acres Monrovia sits on, the actual Monrovia,
More.
maybe it's
Mhm,
100 acre. I'm
mhm,
being frank.
mhm, mhm.
You know,
Single is in part of Moravia,
it's not
past
part. No, it's not.
the city hall.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right after Second Street, you're in Cinco. First
correct.
Street at City Hall. Second Street, you're in Cinco. And then you just go the beach, the Stockton Creek, all around Monrovia. If you want to be friendly to Monrovia, you can add Vartan in there. But when you look at Vartan and Clariton, they're outside of the confines of Monrovia. So to say, yes, you're right. The city is small. The city does not have the capacity to hold the folks, but it shouldn't be in darkness if it is the capital city as it is now. That's my contention.
Yeah, Papa Shannon, also like those other cities like Bushra Island and Cinco, do they have mayors or are they thinking on making
Well,
those
my
places
man, the
into?
only let me be frank with you. For what I know, I think the cities that have mayors are the cities that we consider cities and settlements, right? So you will have a Congo town has a mayor, Partnersville should have a mayor, Painesville has a mayor, Monrovia has a mayor, and the Monrovia mayor is like the chief mayor of all the
Are they,
mayors, right? And they just put himself in that category. Um, I know Broadview has a mayor, Artington, and all of those places. But those were places that were set up with governance, with government, local government at the time. So I'm not sure about the Clarendon and Bourgeois Island. So they're just probably sub communities within the context of Monrovia, the capital. So all of those places will fall within the domain of Monrovia City government.
but how
That would
I
be
mean,
my take.
do they also have council people? Let's look at just Morovia. Do they have a council? How do they generate revenue? You know, it's a revenue. Do they have control and access to the revenue? Because you're talking about trash collection, you're talking about city maintenance. How do you run a city if you don't even have a budget or you have a city council?
But in first place,
Irrespective.
Monrovia should have its own budget. Monrovia should be
Correct. That's what
functioning
I'm saying.
outside of the national government,
Correct.
right? And
Correct.
so they should be propagating for taxes. They should be
Yep.
showing that taxes are paid at
Right.
every little squalor, every little nook and cranny. They should pay
Right.
taxes, and that's the way they can generate money. And then if they build public institutions, those institutions can be rented out to
Mhm.
bring in money as well. And then they should have bilateral treaties. The mayor of Monrovia should have some kind of relationship with some of the sister cities here in the U.S., in other African countries like Nigeria, like Ghana,
Mhm.
like North Africa. That's how you hustle. But you take
Yep.
you take Jefferson Koji, you made him mayor, you wear bow and tie, you sit on there and say he's talking plenty. Is that, yeah? So I'm just saying this is what it would require for Monrovia to stand on its own again. Because I remember those days when we were small boys, the mayors were like president in their own rights.
Correct.
Monrovia city government had a functioning government within the
Hmm.
confines of that city, and the function, even the president, when he coming into Monrovia, he needed to pay attention.
You're right.
I'm telling you the
Right.
truth.
Yep.
Those days, the
Yep.
mayors of Monrovia were powerful people.
Hmm.
But now they find it as a ceremonial starter. You mayor and you
Hmm.
just get paid by government. Whatever you can hustle, it, you get rich, and then that's it. But the rest of the city is in total darkness, struggling to survive. And
Yeah.
that's what
I
it
think
is.
before I go, I mean, as far as the LEC, the darkness thing, I think it's a long way. I think it's a long ways to go because I don't even think they have the plan. You know, to even address the problem, to figure out because you can create mini power stations in different cities. You can use a
Of course.
combination
Right now,
of
LEC has power stations. They're just expanding electricity as far as Robertsfield. I was
right.
just there and saw current coming. I mean, Shuffling, Marshall area, Stinker Village, all of those places now are they have electricity, but of course
But,
it's still
but it's not
rationed.
frequent.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'm
and the
saying. It's
reason,
still rationed.
right, and the reason I was saying that is rational because you don't have a means of payment. The people are not able to pay they're not paying the bill, and so I think the management needs to figure out a way
No, no, no.
how.
To be
Mhm.
frank, quickly, people are now paying their bills. They get the meter, they charge the meter, and that's what is happening. Hold 1 second. Let me put my man in queue here. Uh, Mr. Yomi, I'll come back to you. Let me put you in queue quick. I'll come right back to you.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
here.
so let's wrap up. We got
So
another
so
caller
okay, so if they're paying their bills, then why they're not providing current on a consistent basis?
because they
That's what you
themselves,
have to
because
look.
the very LEC is owing the supply of electricity. And if you follow the news, and not only
Yeah.
that, government institutions don't pay electricity. So all of that punishes
Okay.
the LEC. So the ordinary people are the ones struggling to just make sure that the meter charge. So if you're selling your local water, everybody doing something, you want your little freezer to be, then you take that same local water money. They'll put $10 for the night, the freezer run, then in the day you call it. But man, people surviving. That's all I can say. That's the way it
Yeah.
works. Um
But thank you for the show, Sheldon.
yeah,
I'll watch the show and listen. But I mean, again, just keep doing these kind of shows because everything is on national politics.
yeah,
Like maybe are you talking about the city
yeah.
today? I was
Mhm.
very interested. You can talk about LEC another day, but keep the job out and any way we can participate, let us know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye
Yeah.
bye. Bye
um Mr. Yummy,
Yes, sir.
it's good to hear from you, man. Been a while. Welcome.
Yes. Good, good, good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shelton. Thanks for all you do for our dear country. I was online following. I thought I should share a few thoughts on this very important
Absolutely.
topic.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, firstly, I think one of the major pathways to development in Liberia is the way forward to structuring local government. And by doing that, we want to look it up from the county administration down to the administrative districts. And most importantly, we want to look it up from the cities. So it's just hard to start, but it's also possible to look at what is at hand. Because till now, there isn't a clear working definition of what a city is. The last time I checked, Legis has come with something more recent that talks about population sensitive. If a certain locality has like over 3,000 persons, that should equate to a city. That's just a working definition from the side of Legis, which is one of the most recent. So I think that in itself is limited, not talking about the entire infrastructure of a city. So I think one of the places to look at firstly as we try to restructure local governments in our country, we should look at what defines a city. That's first. Then secondly, as a municipality, most time we have reduced city mayor to just like one other reward job for somebody who assisted during say a campaign period
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or say someone who has been around and most of the jobs are like over. So let's find something for this person to be doing until
Hmm.
we can get another handle for this person. So in my thinking, that in itself should be revisited because city mayors should be people who understand, first of all, the structure of the city. Then you want to organize it into a way that leads to you identifying the problems that besides national laws, you can organize a way of having city ordinances, which is part of the law pyramid of the country because we have the constitution, we have our legislation from the House of Representatives coming down, policies from ministries, then we have city ordinances. So for example, if there's a unique problem into your city, you should be able to establish a council that investigates and understand that by legislating this particular ordinance, we try to curb the situation. Take, for example, public public nuisance in your community. You can say because many people are like using the streets for human waste. If you are caught, you'll be fined XYZ, and it is put into law. And you have several pieces of say signposts around local community radio stations are talking about it. And if your phone begin to become liable, these are things people who are actually very knowledgeable about local governance will understand and try to propagate. Now, there is no city in Liberia that doesn't have the issue of, say, youth at risk. How can you address that? The issue of waste is a major problem. Waste collection is directly proportional to human existence. You have to produce waste once you have people in the environment. So now, why is the control mechanism? It's not about politics. Once the waste is put outside there should be a way to collect it. That's the primary stage. And there should be a way to dispose it. And there should be a way to manage that either through recycling. Now, it's so unimaginable, audience, to believe that people are not even putting trash bags in trash cans. That's the least you can think about. Think about how we talk about the division of waste, trash, recycling, and all of that. Why in this age people are not advising people of these things? People will take the trash, the recycling materials, and put it in the sink or dust bin or trash bin and just get it out. So I mean, this is a very important topic to our country. So I mean, I really,
So so
didn't have the
so
time.
so let me just go back to where you talked about Legis and the 3,000 people that constitute a city. Just the number of people in a place does not mean that that place is city ready, right? What
That's
do I mean?
correct.
I studied public administration. My master's is in public administration with emphasis in public works administration and local government. So when you're talking, this is in my alley. So if you have a locale where you have 3,000 people, but only one school in that place, no hospital, but just a little clinic that can even serve 10 people a day, they don't have a market hall, they don't have a library, they don't have even a fire station. you know all of those things should be even in the works before you start to understand that the population growth will require it to be a city. and
Perfect.
and and so the unfortunate thing here is that I posted the pictures of fire service when I went on Ashburn Street this past Monday
I
not
saw
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I saw that.
That's the only fire station that I know in my entire existence on this earth as a Liberian. And I am surprised that we have all this fire going on in the country and nothing is said about this. These folks, even senators, have become victims of Joseph, and they're not talking anything about increasing fire service budget, training more fire service workers, providing the mechanisms and resources to make sure that they're highly functional. So if the whole capital city, Monrovia, has one little fire service station, which is not even a fire service station, to serve the entire country, or the depending on LPRC and ArcelorMittal, because those areas have their own personal fire department because of the kinds of mineral they're dealing with, like petroleum and all of that. NPA, National Port Authority, has their own fire trucks and stuff. Then where are we going? So all of these things you're talking about, yes, they're very important. But I thought in my time when I was a boy growing up, we had some of those areas functioning. They may not have been on par, but they were functioning. There were mayors in many of the different townships, in many of
Yep.
the different cities. They had township commissioners, they had
Yep.
city mayors, they had district council. All these things were functioning. But this is where it got messy. And why it got messy? Because of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And I'm frowning my face because this woman came to power and usurped the power to have the communities elect the superintendents, to have the
Yep.
communities elect the mayors, to have the communities elect the township commissioners and all of that, and put all in her bosom and appointed these people who were just the same thing you talked about, thrown here and there for political patronage, just to say and go somewhere so you can have something. Whatever you do that at your business, all the free land out there, you can get your own and sell it so you can make your own money, and that's it. And then the next person comes right after, instead of saying, "Oh, wait, this is wrong. Let me change this because I'm came to make the change and make it right." No, George, we are go right in there. Now Joseph Boyka doing the same thing. And that's why
Yep.
I'm having problem with President Boyka. You shouldn't be coming back and appointing even a passport director supposed to be, and you in foreign service, shouldn't that be a minister appointment?
And by the way,
Eh?
that's not even a bureau. That is a section under the Bureau of Legal Affairs.
Okay, so like, I will continue in my lane. I was just asking you for that. So how can President Barker come here and duplicating and replicating the same thing that Ellen did and screw up, instead of giving the power back to the people and say, "Hey, mayors will be appointed, or elected, and blah blah blah." Election Commission can find money the other day to do past senatorial elections. They can find money to do municipality elections, township elections, and so forth. And that would bring power back to the people, and these communities will compete. They will compete because one thing you talked about at risk youth, right?
Sure, sure.
Crime and all of that. Right in America here, you live in the Massachusetts area. There are certain communities, certain townships, certain local cities that if John Yomin Jr. is walking in that area, a policeman will stop you and say, "What are you doing here?" Will ask you that question
Yep.
because those people pay taxes for the neighborhood to be top notch.
Yep.
So in Liberia, we can, like the marshal now that people were looking at the Robertsfield Highway and say, "Oh, this would be the new normal place to live." Go there now and see the squatters and everywhere. Go to Boys Town Junction. It's a complete waterside. Or on the Marshall Highway, that beautiful stretch of Kota. They're building all kinds of makeshift stuff all along the road. The country is lawless. The country is, nobody gives a damn. Nobody
Yeah.
gives a damn. And that's
Yeah.
why the
It.
country remains where it is, because the very people who advocated for change, they come to power now, and President Bwaka is appointing even passport director. I have a problem with that, Mr. President. I have a problem with that. You should have allowed the people to go to municipal elections instead of appointing. I've seen people, the appointment for township, all by the president. This is wrong. We didn't come here for this. We wanted to make change, and he knows it. He's from that old school. He should be going back to where our country used to be. Go ahead,
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, thank you. And Mr. Sheldon, like always, it's good to be earnest and say things that will help our country. It's void of politics because there are certain realities once they are not put into place, you cannot have the expected results. It's just straightforward. So we all need to brave, you know, ourselves in a way that we can respectfully communicate to those in authority to know that there are certain requirements of that or of them. Anything short of that is not proper leadership. We all have been yearning for, we all have worked for, and wanting to see in this lifetime. So we just have to do it right. And there's just one way to do it right, So, I mean, looking at local government, all right, most of the county administrations, they have received social development funds, all right, from
Mm-hmm.
companies. Years they have been going to county settings. What have they done for cities in terms of schools, in terms of fire or department we're talking about? Why it looks so hard for someone to imagine that there should be a fire service in Banga or Kakata or in Ganta or in Sweju or in Pibo? They deserve that because they are outbreaks. I mean, it's a natural thing. Fire incidents occur even in the most sophisticated societies. So when we want to live a civilized life, we should know that public safety is a major requirement. Anything short of that, we are not living the real world. So I'm just happy that you brought this kind of topic, and I'm hoping many cognizant Liberians can come out and discuss it in a way that we all find it faith. It's not about party A or party B or this other person, that other person. Many a times people just perceive that a certain person is coming to say certain things and they want you to say it the way they think you should say it for their own appeasement. We should be talking realities. This is 2024. Look at the trash in Monrovia. What's the strategy? It should be of a concern. Look at the number of schools that kids go to and they will not have lessons. These are things we want to talk about, but these are not the hot topics. We are talking about salaries for new vehicles, for lawmakers. People feel disrespected. They want to take
Hmm.
the opposite link. These are things that undermine the very essence of the rule of law. Mr. Shelton, just not to take out of the time, but just to mention this, any any serious minded person not just living in Monrovia or Pinsville, but in Montserrado or Magibi, who's working in Monrovia and wants to do a piece of work, will wake up on time and will be there on time. There is no need for opposite link. These are things that are undermining the existence of the very cities we talk about. So thanks for this very important topic. I'm hoping many Liberians can come up, share the ideas. And I just want to say shout out to the guys, the diaspora Liberians, because they are investing a lot in the country that is not paying back, but preaching, or I mean, disengaging the bridge they're trying to connect. People are now saying the people on the other side and the people on the other side.
Hmm.
While we try to bring ourselves together, people are always finding means to bring division. From party lines now, there is a growing trend that has to do with diaspora Liberians and local Liberians. We should think of ways that we can get together, build our communities, and under urban studies, once you build the communities, they will expand and the nation will develop. There is no way possible you can just develop from Capitol Building, Capitol Hill, and that will be it. No, we need to see, safety in our communities, sanitation works are going on properly, our kids are safe and well in parks, they can walk freely, they can go to school properly and return without any growing concern of whether they're going to be harmed by people. We want to see that kind of life here, which is possible, but we must get to work. So I just want to say thank you. We keep doing what we have to do.
Thank you, John. Thank you, man. Great perspectives here, and I appreciate you. You will
Thank you.
come back at some point once we resume normal broadcast. You will come back and come in as a studio guest, but great perspectives here, and I think that's
Looking
why
forward to that. Thanks.
we're not going anywhere because we continue to replicate the errors, and again, like I said, just from where I stand here or sit here, I frown on President Boakai appointing the passport director, and look at who he appointed. Somebody who been around for 2,000 years, right, John? Before you go, this man called Pearson, right? That's not no
Yes,
young.
yes.
That's not a young man. How about you guys who did foreign service? Went to the Foreign Service Institute and got trained. When will you have the opportunity to work in government and give back at your age? Because you probably in your early 30s. So when will you really work to gain experience like a piercing who's been around forever? So I'm just thinking out loud. So we got a lot to go, but let me take this caller from Texas. The caller from Texas.
Hello,
Yeah, hello. Welcome to the show. Your name?
hello.
Yes, can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, hi. How you doing? This is Dwight Port. Can you hear me?
Oh, Dwight. How you doing, my
Yes,
brother?
sir.
Welcome to the issues room. I saw your post. We'll come back to that
Yeah,
conversation, but overall,
very well, very
yeah.
well. I
But
didn't. I didn't call to just bring that up,
no,
but I
no,
just.
we're not going to bring it out here
Yeah,
tonight. We're just going
yeah,
to stay on. What
yeah,
I'm saying, we'll come
yeah.
back to it at some point. And I'm
Okay.
happy that justice was served. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
that was the intent.
yeah.
Unlike when I came on you guys' post, You people, took things to a different level, but that's okay. I just want to emphasize here that some of us, we quietly watch these programs and we look at the topics that are brought up. Everybody talk about the diaspora uniting with people back home and everything, but we don't have the vehicle.
Okay.
Government comes and goes, and I mean, I will start from the Ellen time. We maybe Facebook was not that popular where people were engaging and interacting with people. Then came George Weah, one of the youngest president in our time.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of breaching the gap, there was a wedge again,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And here we are again on a Mr. Boyka, who's been in public service. That's your alley. Who you expect him to create this avenue where there will be more Liberian diaspora interactions, and not just about the sake of going and getting jobs. And I'm hoping that his visit to to the states, I mean, right in Texas, will create that avenue. Number one, diaspora investment are not protected in Liberia. That's the
Absolutely.
bottom line.
Absolutely. You're right.
How you that's your alley. How do we go about protecting our assets? How we go about protecting our investment? Look, you are just there. You're there all the time. I was there 2 years ago. No, there is no mechanism in place that if I need someone to build a fence for me,
Mm-hmm.
I have to get it by way of mouth. There's no system in place that hey, we got 40 carpenters, 40 masoners that you can call into that pool and get somebody to go and do your work. Look, every day I talk to people who explain to me that they hire people to do a little job for them. They will come and do the job and don't show up. And guess what? There isn't even a database that you can find that handyman to do anything. There's so many systems need to be fixed in our country. And for us to be 176-year-old approaching 177-year-old, and he's still complaining and complaining about the very little things that other countries have enjoyed. It's troubling. And I hope there will be another show that people can come on and speak to the issue. Like I always said, Liberians have to put themselves into these what you call specialty or expertise group. If you're a nurse, you find a pool of nurses. You're an architect, you find a pool of architects. And we come together and have this one umbrella that we can build our country. Look what you're talking about the marshal. I was there the other day. I got a lane marshal. When I drove my wife and I through there, she's like, why did you buy a land over here? I'm like, it wasn't this
It
way.
wasn't that way. That's the
No,
problem. And what hurts me is that nobody gives a damn. Nobody looking.
exactly.
And the very people who were going there as at the initial stage, and we
Yes.
all were hoping that we in the caliber of folks who can afford to put something decent here and have everybody can just be everywhere. That is why
No.
in America you have some areas that I can live in Beverly Hills. I don't have the money to
No.
live in Beverly. Right here in Pennsylvania, I can live in Montgomery County in certain areas like Lower Merion County. I can live there. I don't have the money. I don't. But you will find people will come, they will just put a whole lot of zinc shack all among the people, decent homes, and it just make the place look ugly.
Yeah.
And so now your wife went there and asked you that question. But I remember when I bought my land in
Yes.
2009 in Boys Town,
We were, I
it
think I
was like
bought my, yeah, at the same time. Yeah.
yeah, it was like this is where I would want to live. Today, I can live in Boys Town. I can. It's a complete.
And like,
It's turned
yeah.
into a waterside.
Yeah. And like one of the callers said, I mean, we got this huge rural to urban migration. I mean, the box never stops. You know, people just keep coming to the city and shrinking Monrovia. Like you were talking, I know the last time I heard Monrovia was what, 75 miles radius. You guys do the math. So if it's 75 miles radius, you cannot have 1 million people living there. You can't. And again, we have, I spoke on one of the shows the other day. I thought long ago, I think in the 80s or in the 70s, people were, the mayor were elected, right?
Mhm. Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
think, yeah,
No,
wasn't
but even
Horton? I think Horton was
no, but
one of
even
the last.
no, but even right here under President Doe, when President Doe became the civilian president,
Right.
we have elected mayors.
Was it Horton? Was it Horton or who was the mayor
No, no,
was
no.
I was elected?
Houghton was way talk about time. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Chuchu
yeah, yeah,
Houghton.
yeah.
Yeah, Chuchu.
Yeah,
But
but just wanted to add my little piece and thanks for the show. I hope that that issue will be addressed because that's some of the things that are keeping Liberians, back in the diaspora from going back home because of the dishonesty. That's another thing. That's another topic for discussion. But thanks for the time. Thanks for the show.
thank you,
Sorry for
Tyler.
the background noise. All right.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
But let me come back to you, Flomo Livingstone. You posted something here, and you're my brother, and you don't want to fall in my bad book with me. And I'm hoping you're listening. I want you to listen. He said we don't expect President Boaga to change Liberia in 4 months. Of course, he's not able to change Liberia in 4 months, but he can change some things in Liberia from the get go. And that's one of the things I talked about. Rather than come and replicate what Helen did, replicate what we did, and then you come and grow government further, but then you're appointing more people when those people should be elected. So where does the change start? Flomo Livingstone? Where does it start? The change starts when President Boyka, who has worked all through normal times, said, listen, we can continue to do business as usual, as he claims. So we're not going to appoint these electable positions. We'll let the people make their choice. For now, I'm focusing on my executive branch. I'm going to focus on the ministries. I'm going to focus on the functionaries of the different parastatuses. I'm going to focus on those areas. These locales will meet with the elections commission. We'll talk to our bilateral partners, and we want to hold municipal elections. We want to hold elections within townships. We want to elect our superintendents and stuff so that they can have proximity to the governance structure so the people can be closer. And then the requirement by those municipalities that the people who serve them will live within their domain, will live within their locale. That would be the power of the people being exerted. So President Boaga can make some of those adjustments now. So I'm not asking you or telling President Boaga that you can change Liberia in 4 months. I'm telling you the errors made by your predecessors should not be replicated because then it becomes business as usual. Positions where there were supposed to be appointments made by the minister, like for instance, Inspector General for Commerce, that's not a presidential appointment. The Inspector General for Commerce is a person that should be what do you call it appointed or appointed rather or vetted within the ministry. Go to interview, apply for the job. There may be few people applying for the job because they've grown through the ranks and files of understanding what to inspect when it comes to commerce and trade. And those who have the education, the qualification, the competences within the Ministry of Commerce or outside of the Ministry of Commerce, because they have the education aligned with the qualification of the job or the requirements of the job, then of course the minister can set up his panel, do interviews, first level, second level, and appoint whoever qualifies for the job. Inspector General should not be appointed by the president. It's business as usual. Absolute business as usual. Passport director within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should not be appointed by the president. Oh, you know why? Ellen Johnson did it because Mary Brown was her girl. Mary Brown was her girl, so she wanted to put her somewhere where she will have some degree of authority. So when you come, you make that change from the get-go. That's my contention. That's my contention. So I don't think it's wrong for me to point that out. And I'm not asking President Boaga to change Liberia in 4 months. But again, from the get-go, as the president, he should know what is right, what was right then, and try to bring those right then back. That is why the country has not gone anywhere for 21 years. Because what was right then, when Ellen came, she decided to make it her way. And George Weah, being the man he is, he decided to make it the way Ellen made it plus his way. And so if you, President Boakai, you know the right way from the old days, bring it back so our country can go forward. So call 404-272-2808, 404-272-2808. We're here for an hour and a half and we'll be wrapping up. Of course, that's our broadcast time. But again, the conversation here tonight is while we were off the air, and I did clarify that we got suspended by Facebook based on accordingly uh, violation of their community standards, and we have been from a post that was made by the TI room. But again, we're back, and again, we're hoping that we'll do well this time around, paying attention to what we post, what we say, because again, as I said, Facebook, I don't know if they cherry pick, because some of the things on Facebook, if you see it, you will be shutting those people down, but those people stay around. Some people causing man cause all the way and they stay around. So I don't know to what extent, where have we caused man cause, what have we done so wrong that it had to suspend our platform for more than a month, or in the ballpark of a month and a week or two. So we're back and we'll be resuming broadcast either Friday or next Tuesday if all goes well. So thank you so much to all of you who've come out here tonight. But we're just also talking about my time in Liberia and some of the things I observed and what we hope will change within the coming 6 years under President Barga. We see that he's making progress in some areas, but one of the biggest progress I think so far is the signing of the legislation to create the War and Economic Crimes Court to address the unresolved war that we suffered from 1989 to 2003 with the intermission of those wars. And many people, many pundits are in disagreement with what the thing, including former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who said her position has not changed. She doesn't think that there should be war and economic crimes court. We should emulate and practice the Rwanda gacaca. But what Ellen fails to understand is the Rwandan war was just two tribal groups, the Hutsi and the Tutsi. And they didn't go around destroying the country. In our civil war, we had factions, we had all kinds of things. She herself was involved. She herself was doing her own thing. She herself was supporting. She herself came on the BBC and said, "You're flat in the mansion. We're better in 3 days." Has she forgotten? I was a young man. I listened to her voice on BBC. So for her to say that her stance is ironclad, she's not going to change on her stance that there's no need for war and economic crimes court, but we must heal the nation. How do we heal the nation when you, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, was emphatic that Joe Biden can be president in Liberia? If he becomes president, hey, I'm agree my palm, I'm a tent to man. That you the one won't talk now, Omar? Tosso now, Omar, that you the one won't talk? Is that a reconciliatory statement? Now you're asking for reconciliation? What you fail to understand and remember that you were not God. Your coming to power was the will of God and the Liberian people for change. The coming to power of George Weah was the will of God and the Liberian people desire for change. The coming of Boakai to power is the will of God and the Liberian people continued desire for change. And that would be the trend. The next president after Joe Boakai, 6 years, it will be the will of God and the Liberian people continued desire for change. So I say this to mean that where do we go when a president who was given a TRC report, who probably did not even read it, who didn't care and put it on, on the carpet and said, to hell with those people. How dare they call my name in the TRC report? And how dare that they warn me to be barred from politics and blah blah blah. As a sitting president, I'm not going to implement it. And then what happens? Prince Johnson, the Ellen, the George Weah, they all went together and said, "Oh, you know what? Some other people, they won't bring out a Congo thing here. They won't bring international thing here. We're not listening." So the people who don't want the country to move forward, the people who feel that they've amassed wealth and they want to enjoy it within the confines and the dictates of Liberian law, they want to not be involved, put it that way. They don't want to support this whole thing. But I have said this in time immemorial that for Liberia to make progress, we must memorialize the folks who were killed. We must create a relic to remember them. We must create a war museum. We must put the faces of the war, the Prince Johnson face of the war, the Charles Taylor, the Ellen Johnson, Sirleaf, whoever supported the war, even if it was myself, my face should be in that museum. Some of the notable people who died for no reason. Notable people who died for no reason. 5 American nuns should be memorialized in that museum. The Dr. Stephen Yekison should be memorialized in that museum. The Jackson F. Dole, Canada Jackson F. People who died for no reason should be memorialized. The local men who we knew in our community, all around the corner, should be memorialized in that museum. That is why it's so important. The caller from Rhode Island, I'll come to you. Let me just end my thought. Just hang on. So that's why it's so important for the War and Economic Crimes Court to take place. We can't sweep this under the rug. We destroyed our country. We destroyed our infrastructure. And the very people who did that are still around and amassing wealth. It's a slap in the face of the ordinary man. It's a slap in the face of the international community who want to help us as a nation. But they're asking, what's wrong with these people? What type of country is this? What type of people are these? It takes an ambassador to point finger and say, hey, how can the legislature make more money than the country? Get paid more money than the country? When the clinics, the hospitals, the very drugs that international partners are bringing in, they take it, personalize it, and sell it back to the people. Why are we so wicked and evil to ourselves? And you're not telling it to a stranger. I was just there. Some of the things that I experienced as an ordinary man, the corruption that I experienced, how I was pushed around to get simple things done. That's when I said to myself, damn, we're wicked to each other in this country. But let me hear from this caller here. Caller, welcome to the show.
Hey, Bukero from Livingstone.
Oh, yeah, you scared of going my Bible? That way you call. Come on, let's talk.
I'm Kevin, man. You can put me a Bible. I'm used to it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Yeah,
So,
good to hear from you.
Bukero, look, I know President Walker. I'm not saying he's on purpose. No, some appointment he shouldn't do, and he did it. That is wrong. I'm not here to back that. I'm not one of those secret friends who say, "Oh, anything the president do is right." No. But at the same time, I don't want people to think that in 4 months' time, the president should change everything. That's impossible. It's not. That's not realistic. And
So let's stop this. Let's stop there. I'm not letting you go off the hook and say I said he should change everything.
No. I'm not saying you.
Okay.
Someone was replying to my comment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Someone was replying to my comment. So my point. Okay, let's go to the electing mayors and superintendent and what etc. I agree with you. We're supposed to do that. But Volcano, my point I'm saying is the question I keep asking people, okay, electing people, I don't have a problem with it. But are they performing? Look at our senators in our legislature. We elect them every 6 or 9 years. Have they really changed the life of the people, of the counties, or the district that represent the people elected? Are they really performing?
So let me answer that question quickly, right? So if all of those positions are appointable position rather than electable position, then even the very county with its different community leaders, for instance, the mayor of Kakata, let's take for example Nathaniel McGill, the mayor of Kakata, the superintendent of Magibi County, the other cities within the Margibi County, like Marshall. Marshall is not in Margibi. Marshall had a city. Marshall was a city by
their
itself.
own territory.
Okay, it was a city, then it was a territory, but the city itself was within the territory. It was President
Okay.
Doe who combined Gibby territory and Marshall territory into Margibi County, right? But the point I'm making, if those other leaders were impactful by the electables, or the electors, rather, I meant to say the electors, then Matana McGill would be brought down to that level that these people can hold me accountable. Then I wouldn't use the word incite because it would be too strong, but they can hold council meetings with the citizens and say, hey, this man has not performed. Here's the signature sheet. Let's remove him. But if everybody's appointed, then everybody only hustling for themselves. Then they don't look back to
Yeah.
the people. So that's where the problem comes. So there's
And
no
Buchanan,
there's no layers. There's no layer of redress for the ordinary voters. Their only hope is to wait for the next election and kick that person out, like they did with Beaufort Chambers, like they did with
okay,
George Weah.
I agree. Volcano nice and said it, Don. He said it nicely. I hope that can work. But most of the guys don't remember. If they say we elected mayors and stuff, they might be fighting with some of these guys then. They will still do the same. How are we sure when we elected mayors and they superintendent, if maybe for example, Natana Magir, the person who wanted, let me just say the mayor position in Kakata or the superintendent position for Margibi, in case the person friend will National Magay, I think the same corruption will still continue. They won't have that courage to hold me accountable. That's my problem. That's my problem I
But
have with it.
Nathaniel McGill and the superintendent being friends doesn't mean that the city council would be friends with the superintendent Nathaniel McGill. That's why you.
Yes,
That's why I'm saying when you have electable positions, you have the city council, you have all of these accountable bodies to hold the ceremonious leader foot to the fire. That is why. So
and
it's happening. If we borrowed from the American governance system, then it will work in Liberia because the American governance system works. It works here. And that's what we've done. We established the three branches of government with separate powers. And so if those positions should be electable, then the president shouldn't be appointing because then it compromises the interest of the people. The people want to stand on the line to vote for their own mayor. The people want to stand on the line to vote for their own district commissioners, township commissioners, superintendents. And those
I
people will
agree.
be living in. How can you go appoint a mayor to Ganta, the man from Grand Bassa County? How can
Look,
you
I
appoint?
agree.
How can you appoint a superintendent for Lofa County, the man from Grand Crew County?
I agree. Look, but let's say so much. Look, I agree when we do all that. Hopefully, it can work. But for me, I will need a referendum to change the whole constitution.
But, it,
But
but
that
nothing
up
wrong.
put
Nothing wrong with the Constitution. The Constitution says, yeah,
no,
we must elect
no.
those people.
No, the agreement, if you read Article 97 of the Constitution, will tell you what it says, and all article of the Constitution, it was biased. I don't know, doing that, I don't know, was it True Wing Party or whatsoever party that was there, they were trying to protect themselves. That's why I think Article 97, if you read, according to it, they can be held accountable for every crime they committed. So they pretty much put aside above the Constitution. So the Constitution is not even clear. For me, we should have a referendum put in, for example, if the senators will be making $2,000, let it be in the constitution. If the legislators will be making this amount, let it be in the constitution. Because most of the guys they just set up their own pay, like making 15,000, getting 45,000 worth of car. You don't even get good roads to drive those cars on while your people are suffering. So that's my point. I'm saying. So we have so many things. It's not just the president alone appointing people. But the legislature alone, we need to have that constitution changed in a way we can put in specific. For example, if Article 10 say legislature should make 1,000 US a month, it should be in it. So everybody can know, or minister should make this amount. Let it be in the
So
constitution.
let me play a quick hypothetical here. So then for every time you go to increase the salary, then you got to change the constitution though.
No,
You
now
can
why
put,
it should be.
I mean, you can put salary inside the constitution to confine it to that. I'm just giving you an
No.
example because anytime you do something
Mhm.
outside of the constitution, it will require that referendum you're talking about. But
That's like
again,
that is about them.
yeah,
So that way
but
you just kind of
it's very costly to tamper with constitutions, right? You know that, right? Very costly,
hey,
especially for the whole country. It
yeah,
requires a
but
lot.
we can have, for example, no major election going on now. We can use money. I mean, just say we can do it in 2025. We can, educate our people. That way, we don't have other seats be running for other position. No, we just have that constitution all going for that referendum and change it. Look, we have to change it. In America, we know. Joe, we know any president that can, there's something I'm going to make. They can't change it. You can't, it's not like Joe Biden can talk, we put Joe Biden 5 times. Oh, when the other person come, no, it's set. You have to make this amount. And the senators and the legislators are like, yeah, it's set. You can't change it when they cut. Every senator that kind of get the same thing. They can't change the price. I mean, they can't change it, their salary in the United States, you see. So that we should do the same thing with it. I think it will be good.
All
And the
right.
last thing, let me just speak on the last one, then go. So the LDC problem, okay, the LDC, I know they need to do some work. But look, for Kennel, our people don't like to pay bills too. I lived in Tima Village. I was there, not even to say, the power test came. I'm not, I can say majority of the people on direct current, they were not paying that bill. They cut their wires, and the next 2 days they went and bought cheap wires to come put it back. So you cannot, for me, I try to blame the LDC, but at the same time too, we cannot just be getting free service. No, the thing is not free. You have to pay for service that you want to enjoy. Like here, we pay light bills and stuff. But majority of the people don't pay. I know some businesses in Tima Village who are direct and they don't pay their bills. So that's the problem is both ways to me. I mean, you can't just blame the
Yeah,
LSC.
but
People keep talking,
somebody in LEC getting the cut on the side so that people don't pay their bills. You won't think
but
that?
I agree. Most of the guys most of the guys who don't connect,
Yeah, the building on the
who
fuse
was
though.
doing LSC, but the same people that can come back and do the connection,
All right,
and then the
let
same
me take
people
this
who,
caller quick, eh?
yeah, thank you.
All right, let me take this caller quick. The caller from Massachusetts, your name?
Yes, it's Choo Choo again.
Okay,
Choo Choo
Chuchu.
Jones.
I will be wrapping up in 4 minutes, so let's be
Okay.
very brief.
Yeah, very briefly. You made mention of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and her comments and her position on the World Economic Crimes Court. Okay, and I just thought I bring this up for your discussion, maybe the next time.
Oh yeah, we're definitely
Uh,
going to talk about that. It's just a snippet
yeah,
right now. Go ahead.
snippet, correct. But my view on I don't think we should really get into it. But the gentleman I was on the last caller talking about, the 4 years is not sufficient. And you are absolutely right. Nobody expect President Barker to change Liberia in 4 years, 10 years, or even. But the law is the law. The law is very clear. It's in the Constitution. Mayors should be elected. And the only point I want to add to that, not only should they be elected, they should have control of their own budget and raise cap money
Yeah,
revenue
through
at the local
taxes.
level.
Yeah, through taxes
They should have municipal.
and through
Yes,
the base running through taxes and the mineral they find within their communities.
correct.
Because
Because if you just elect them,
take for instance, what happened here in Grand Cape Mount County or
mhm,
in Bombing County. How can the Monrovia, and I mean Monrovia meaning the national government, influence who go there and take all the people mineral and leave them dry with nothing? When the people
mhm,
should be there utilizing the mineral with the local government and giving what percentage to national government. It's like the organizations we establish here. We have a national leadership, but we have local chapters. What we raise, what we do at a local level, we contribute to the upkeep of national leadership. That's how it should be.
correct,
That's where the impact
correct.
comes in. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that's a problem where not only will you be able to raise money and develop that township, city, or wherever, but you will be able to breed leaders. So when somebody wants to be president, you can go back and track if this person was a mayor, how they perform,
Mhm, mhm.
rather than, or the person wants to be minister, you know. But if you just consolidate all the political power, all the economic power in the hands of the president, that's where I think we went wrong. So you're absolutely correct. Like there's more benefit in terms of having local leadership, local management, right? Then, like you say, you can make comparisons. You can see where work in one county or one district or one city as opposed to the other. So there's a lot of benefit. And lastly, I just want to say, Shadow, look, you're a very brilliant man. And I hope you can continue this conversation because one of my disappointments is that our media today is seriously corrupt and incompetent. They do not discuss the issue. They take one political side, and we just somehow just want a good, healthy conversation so we can learn and so we can be able to teach our brothers and sisters and not look at everything from a political standpoint to say, oh, I'm for Bwaka or I'm for Joshua, because that's what's going in the country. And once for that person, whether the person does wrong or not, you're just going to be there cheering them up. And so the sycophancy
Yeah.
is what going on in our country, the lack of education. And I think the media, like what you're doing tonight, you're taking an issue and you're educating us and having an open conversation about it
Yeah.
is one of the best I've heard in Liberian media in a very long time. So please keep it up.
Thank you, Chuju. It's a pleasure having you. We'll be back
Okay, my
here
friend.
by the grace of God Friday or next week,
Okay.
Tuesday and Friday.
All right.
Of course, we'll
Thank you, sir.
definitely be resuming broadcast. This was just resumptive so that folks know that the issues room is still alive, but we had our own problem. Good night. Thank you so much for being here with us. But again, I want to thank all of you. I said we'll be here for an hour and a half, and it's about an hour and a half in a minute, over an hour and a half. I'd like to quickly run down the audience here tonight. Oma Media, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us, Cars. It was a pleasure having you. Christopher Wesley, Othello Dillon, Chuju, of course, who just called, John Yamin, who was on the line with us, Dwight Port. It was good to have you here too. William McDavis, it's a pleasure. Lomel Davis, wow, welcome, welcome. Man, listen, join us here again. You enjoy it. Lomel, how's everything going? How's Jomel Apartments. Good to see you and good to have you here joining us here tonight. Alma Freeman, of course, William McDavis. It's a pleasure. Thank you guys for joining us. Alex Jones, Flomo Livingstone, of course. Stephen McGill. You say you were trying to call. The line has been opened. I don't know why, but let's try again uh, on another time. Christopher Wesley, of course. Godwin Weado. It was a pleasure having you in the house here with us tonight. Of course, um, I like to remember River says Pro, uh, good friend and brother. Always good to see you. I know you're blaming me for for a lot of things, but listen, of course, what's his name? Flomo Livingstone says that 4 months Barga can change everything, and that's a fact. That's a fact. But I'm also firm that the later he can change and put us back into normal mode, that's what he should be doing. I'd like to also thank Bennett O'Connor for joining us here tonight in the issues room. It was a pleasure having you, my brother. Always good to see you and sharing your perspective in these conversations. Forge you, of course. Thank you for joining us here tonight. And G. Gwen Jones Smith. Adiha Uma, I didn't see you. Of course, I know you'll be here with us once you get a hint that we're coming back. But again, thanks to everyone for joining us here. Hopefully, as I said, we'll be here Friday or starting next Tuesday. Again, Volcano Shelton, back from Liberia, well and healthy, ready to do this. We got so much to talk about. We got to work with uh, the government and the people of Liberia to hopefully move our country forward. And that is our aspiration. That is what we do here in the issues room, to enlighten, to bring the book, the things that people don't want to talk about, and to also share light on the things that we think will help improve our society. Thank you so much. Good night to all of you. I'm going to go catch up on the NBA. It's been a good playoffs. So thanks so much. We'll be back here, God's willing, Friday or Tuesday.